The temperature had dropped to -18. Somewhere in the white silence of the Kunar Mountains, a dog was dying, and the only man who could save him had already been ordered to leave. His name was Marcus Webb, Senior Chief Petty Officer, SEAL Team 3, 4 deployments, 0 regrets. Until that night, this is the story of what happens when a Navy SEAL chooses loyalty over orders, and how one wounded dog in the snow rewrote both of their lives forever. Stay with me, because what happened next nobody saw coming. Marcus Webb didn't plan on becoming a Navy SEAL. He grew up in Bozeman, Montana, a quiet kid who preferred the woods to the classroom, who spent his summers hiking trails his father had mapped by hand, and who learned early that the mountains don't lie to you. They are hard and cold and indifferent, but they are honest. That honesty shaped him. He enlisted at 19. By 24, he had passed BUD on his first attempt, something only a fraction of candidates ever do. His instructors described him in their reports with the same word, independently, without knowing the others had used it too. Quiet, not quite like shy, quite like a man who had already decided something and didn't need to announce it. He deployed to Iraq in 2009, Afghanistan in 2011, back to Afghanistan in 2013. Each time he came home a little quieter, a little more deliberate, in the way he moved through the world. His mother said he walked differently after the second deployment, like he was always listening for something. She wasn't wrong. Ranger came into Marcus' life in the winter of 2014. He was a Belgian Malinois, 67 pounds, tawny brown with a black mask, ears that stood perfectly upright like twin antennas turned to a frequency nobody else could hear. He had been bred in the Netherlands, trained at Lockland Air Force Base in Texas, and certified in explosive detections, patrol work, and tactical apprehensions. On paper, he was a weapon. In person, he was something else entirely. The first time Marcus walked into the kennel at Bagram airfield, Ranger did something none of the trainers had seen him do with a new handler before. He sat down, not on command, not because he was told to. He just sat and looked at Marcus with those amber eyes that seemed to hold more patience than any living creature had a right to, and waited. Marcus crossed down to his level. "Hey, Ranger." Ranger landed forward and pressured his forehead against Marcus. just for a second, just long enough. The trainer standing in the doorway said later that she had worked with over 200 military working dogs in her career. She had never seen a dog choose his handler that fast. Some pairs take weeks to bond, she told the debrief team months later. Those two were already a team before Marcus stood back up. Over the next 8 months, Marcus and Ranger became what people in the K9 unit called a ghost pair. They moved together without signals. They communicated in the languages of small things, the angle of Ranger's ears, the way Marcus shifted his weight, a barely perceptible change in breathing that told one that the other already knew. In 4 joint operations, Ranger detected explosive devices 3 times before any equipment registered a signal. Each detection was confirmed. Each one saved lives. The other SEALs gave Ranger a nickname, Ghost, because by the time you knew he was there, he had already done his job. Marcus just called him Ranger. Always Ranger. Said it the same way every time, low and even like a fact. At night, in whatever forward operating base they were assigned to, Ranger slept pressed against Marcus' side, not at his feet, not across the room, against his side, close enough that Marcus could feel the slow, steady rhythms of his breathing. He told his sister in a letter that it was the only time in Afghanistan he felt completely still. He never explained what he meant by that. He didn't need to. The briefing for Operation Winter Trace came on a Tuesday, December 11, 2014. Outside temperature -12 and falling. The mission was classified as a Tier 2 reconnaissance. Go into the Kunar Province, locate and confirm a suspected insurgent supply route running through the mountain passes northeast of Asadabad. Gather photographic intelligence, extract clean, no engagement unless fired upon. Estimated duration 6 hours. Marcus had done variations of these missions 11 times. He told Ranger about it the way he always did, quietly while shaking his gear, speaking in a low, steady voice that wasn't really for Ranger's benefit, but had become a ritual neither of them questioned. In and out, he said. Cold one tonight, stay close. Ranger's ears moved forward. They inserted by helicopter at 2,200 hours, 6 kilometers from the target area. The team was 4 men plus Ranger Marcus as handler, 2 exalters named Kowalski and Tran, and their team leader, Lieutenant Commander Daniel Hess. For the first 90 minutes, everything went exactly as planned. The mountains were silent. The snow was packed hard underfoot. Ranger moved ahead of the team in his standard pattern, 20 meters out, quartering the ground, ears and nose working in a constant sweep. At 2300 47 hours. The wind changed. Marcus felt it before he registered it. Consciously, a shift in the air. Something colder and sharper coming from the northwest. He glanced at the sky. What had been a clear field of stars 20 minutes ago was now a wall of cloud moving fast over the red line. As he said quietly into his radio. Weather coming. Copy. Double time to the waypoint. They moved faster. Ranger adjusted without being told. Tightening his pattern, stay closer. The storm arrived in 11 minutes, not gradually, not as a warning. It arrived the way catastrophe always arrives, all at once, as if it had been waiting just out of sight. The temperature dropped 6 degrees in under 3 minutes. Visibility went from 100 meters to 15. The wind hit 40 miles per hour and kept climbing. Snow came horizontally, fine and sharp as ground glass, finding every gap in every layer of clothing. Extraction point has ordered. Now move. They turned northwest toward the extraction coordinates. 3 kilometers, 40 minutes at pace. Ranger was 15 meters ahead of when it happened. The sound came fast, a deep, resonant crack, the kind that doesn't echo but simply stops like a word cut off mid-sentences. When Ranger's voice, not a bark, not a whimper, something Marcus had never heard from him before. A single sharp sound almost surprised. Marcus was running before he knew he was moving. He found Ranger at the edge of what had been invisible under 2 feet of packed snow, a frozen tributary of the Kunar River. The bank collapsed under Ranger's weight. The ice broken and black water swaying through. Ranger was in the water to his shoulders. His back left leg was bent at an angle that made Marcus' vision go white at the edges. He was scrambling at the ice with his front paws, gaining no ground, his breath coming in short, sharp bursts. The water was moving under the ice. Ranger. Marcus's voice came out perfectly calm. Later, he would not be able to explain how. I am here. I am right here. Ranger's eyes found him and stopped panicking. Just stopped like a machine. That had found its signal. The radio crackled. His voice, Webb, start us. Rangers in the water, injured. A pause. Copy. Extraction in 38 minutes. Leave non-essentials. He is not non-essentials. Another pause. Longer. Marcus, I copy the extraction time. Keep moving. I'll meet you there. He was already pulling off his outer jacket. The water was the coldest thing Marcus had ever felt. Not painful at first, beyond pain, past the place where the body registers temperatures as sensations and into the place where it simply begins to shut things down. His hands stopped feeling like hands. They become tools, clumsy, distant, working on a signal that had to travel too far. He got his arms under Ranger's and pulled. Ranger didn't fight him, didn't twist or struggle. He went completely still in Marcus' arm, all 67 pounds of him, as if he understood that stillness was what the moment required. Marcus got him onto the snow, pulled his jacket around him. Ranger's back left leg was fractured, obvious even in the dark. Even through the storm, he couldn't bear weight on it. Marcus did the math without wanting to. 3 kilometers, 40-pound pack, 67-pound dog he would have to carry. Minus 18 degree and dropping. Blizzard conditions. 36 minutes to extraction. 36 minutes to extractions. He picked Ranger up. Okay, he said to both of them and started walking. He walked to Rangers the whole way. Not commands, not the crisp military language they used in the field, just words. He walked about Bagram, about his father's trail maps, hand-drawn on graph paper, stored in a showbox under the bed. About the summer he was 12 and got lost for 4 hours on a mountain he thought he knew, and how the panic felt like drowning until it didn't. Until something went quiet inside him and he just started walking toward where the light was coming from. He walked about the way Ranger looked the first time he saw him. You just sat down, Marcus said. His breath was coming hard now, legs burning, chest tight with cold. Every other dog in that kennel was doing something, pacing, barking, whatever. You just sat down and looked at me like you had been waiting. The wind screamed over the ridge. Marcus lowered his head and kept walking. You are going to be fine, you said. You hear me? You are going to be fine. Ranger turned his head and looked at Marcus' face. He didn't make a sound, just looked. The way he always looked, like he already knew that Marcus was going to say it. Kowalski found them at the 1.4-kilometer mark. He had doubled back without orders, without radio communication, because he had served with Marcus Webb for 3 years and knew that 36 minutes and 3 kilometers meant. He took Ranger without a word. Marcus didn't argue. They walked the remaining 1.6 kilometers together, trading Ranger between them every 400 meters. Not speaking because there was nothing to say that the walking wasn't already saying. They reached the extraction point with 4 minutes to spare. The helicopter was already there, rotors running, snow spurling in the downwash. Hayes was standing at the door. He looked at Marcus, at Ranger, at Marcus again. He said nothing. He moved aside to let them on. The medics at Bagram worked on Ranger for 2 hours. Fractured tibia, clean break, good prognosis with proper recovery. Severe cold exposure, treatable, no internal injuries. Marcus had hypothermia and second-degree frostbite on the first two fingers of his right hand. He lost partial feeling in them permanently. He has never in any interview or referred to this as a loss. Worth it is the phrase he uses. Always exactly those two words. Worth it. Ranger spent 6 weeks in veterinary recovery at Bagram. Marcus visited every day. Twice on days when operations allowed it, he would sit on the floor of the kennel, not on the chair they offered him, and Ranger would put his head in Marcus' lap, and they would stay like that for however long they had. The vet tech who managed Ranger's recovery said she had never seen an injured military dog heal as fast. He had something to heal for, she said. In March of 2015, the determination came through. Ranger's injury, though fully healed structurally, had left enough residual weakness in the leg that he could not be cleared for full operational duty. He was retired from service. Standard procedures in military working. Dog retirement is an adoption process. Handlers are given first opportunity, followed by other military personnel, followed by the public. Marcus had filled the paperwork the day the injury report was written. 3 months before the retirement determinations, he had already known. Today, Marcus Webb lives outside Bozeman, Montana. He works with a veteran transition program, helping former service members navigate the particular silence that comes after combat. The way the world keeps moving at its regular speed while something inside you is still standing in the snow at -18. Still counting kilometers, still doing the math, Ranger lives with him. He sleeps at the foot of Marcus' bed, not pressured against his side anymore. The way he did in Afghanistan, but close, always close. He still flinches at certain sounds. He still washes the door when Marcus leaves the room. And Marcus still talks to him. At the end of the day, in the quiet, the Montana evenings, in that low, steady voice that was never really a ritual and was always exactly a ritual. Quiet words, the kind you only say when you think nobody is listening. Some bonds aren't built in training, they aren't written in mission briefings or recorded in after action reports. They are made in the dark, in the cold, in the moment when everything else has been stripped away. Rank and orders and strategy and fear. And all that remains is one simple ancient thing. I will not leave you. Marcus Webb walked 3 kilometers through a blizzard at -18 degrees to prove it. Ranger had known its signs. Ranger had known it since the moment he sat down in a canal in Bagram and pressed his forehead against a quiet man from Montana. He had known it from the very beginning. You asked what happened next. Now you know. If this story moved you, share it with someone you need to hear it today. Subscribe to Cool Drama Stories because there are more heroes out there and not all of them walk on two legs.